shouldn't it?
And they placed in handcuffs taunted police by constantly sticking out his tongue.
You fucked your own officer up.
That trooper is out of surgery and is currently in ICU. We are told that his vitals are good, but he is not out of the woods yet.
And really get a sense of how bungling and uncoordinated they are, and their failure to communicate and coordinate with each other to make sure they're not in each other's line of fire.
You fucked your own officer up.
Now hear this road boy, I want you to put it back up here. Cause we vex. Cause a pussy old boy, I try to test you, see. Who the captain the blood class hear it. Cause fuck it is going from a knife. Fuck it says shut up nigga. Pum pum. Test, you know, see. Who the captain the blood class hear it. Cause fuck it is going from a knife. Fuck it says shut up a lick.
Twelfth Antifa Killed? 12th Antifa Killed, or first environmental activist killed by police in U.S. history? Rich treehouse Antifas terrorize neighborhood, burn buildings, trap a man in his truck, and burn it, reportedly. One shoots a state trooper, maybe, and is shot dead, so they riot, but cops may have shot one of their own. Last updated March 9th, today, 2023. This report is based on over 100 sources cited in the references section, in addition to the videos, photos, and posts throughout the whole body. There's the contents. This is all based on my written report that you're seeing here. And links to everything below. Please go down there and both check it out for yourself. I'm going to skip over probably most of what's in here. And there's a lot more if you care. But please subscribe to get my blog. And subscribe to get my Culture War Encyclopedia. It's a whole other blog. Links below. Also to my social medias and etc. yada yada. Introduction. Take note of the following alarming posts, which we will explain in turn. Here's a tweet by Iggy with the black flag. Quote, even if the cop was shot at first, who gives a fuck? It's total war on the police or it's nothing. Don't throw those risking under the bus so you could claim some abstract moral high ground, unquote. The whole diversity of tactics thing, which is very Orwellian. It's doublethink. This is by an account called Filler Distro, PGH. 12 dead cops. What's better than 12 dead cops? The same account. Solidarity means attack. An account called Scenes from the Atlanta Forest. Quote, a call for retaliation. Consider this a call for reciprocal violence to be done to the police and their allies. On Friday, January 20th, wherever you are invited to participate in a night of rage in order to honor the memory of our fallen comrade. Another Antifa terrorist has been killed, this one on January 18th, 2023, reportedly at about 9:04 a.m. That's by most reports at the time, but it was actually 9:01 a.m. according to the cops' body cam, as we'll see, as a result of over a dozen bullet wounds from several officers from multiple agencies. Reportedly, it, not a he, not a she, but it, as it went by, was shot and killed after shooting and seriously wounding a state trooper using a gun that may have been carried across state lines. Supposedly, none of the law enforcement personnel whose body cam footage would have shown who shot who and who shot first recorded it via body cam. They did acknowledge that some officers had body cams, as we'll see, but those who had cameras that would have shown what actually happened, we are to believe those cops didn't have body cams. So we're supposed to believe that everybody but, well, maybe not everybody, but we're supposed to believe that some of them have body cams and recorded, and that the ones that would really show the shooting, they didn't have body cams, or if they did, they weren't recording. Now, here's an update that I put in this article on February 9th. At least 4 of the officers were recording with their body cams, but the shooting cannot be seen in any of the videos, and the audio has been removed from some portions of some of these videos. Now, as far as I know, this would mean that the audio was intentionally removed. I'm not sure if they have the option of pressing a button to turn off or mute things. I'm not sure about that, but it seems suspicious to me. We will go over the important parts of those videos that I mentioned further on. The body cam footage shows that these agencies were very poorly coordinated. Let me be blunt, they were acting like bungling fools. Were death not involved, these videos would be comedic displays of incompetence like those old Keystone Cop comedies of the silent era. Only it isn't funny because a state trooper was seriously wounded due to their sloppy and unprofessional conduct. Also, someone was killed. It may have been the fault of these bungling officers, though it may have been unintentional. They never seem to know who is friend or foe in these videos. They get into each other's line of fire and so on. People that incompetent shouldn't be in charge of, say, flipping burgers, let alone be given a badge. I mean, I support their right to bear arms. I would encourage them to do so, though, and I certainly wouldn't hand them any power or a badge. But, yeah. Another death in another Antifa autonomous zone. This one in the Wee-Lawnee Forest. At what some call, well, it actually isn't. I'll explain. At what some call the Wee-Lawnee People's Park in Atlanta, Georgia, where the city government plans to build a public safety training center that some protesters and Antifa call Cop City. Now, I'll show you on the map at some point. I think I linked to Google Earth or whatever, and it's not part of the forest. It's woods in the city. I mean, it's barely connected to any outside woods except maybe by a very thin corridor. Maybe a deer could walk through, but it's not the forest. But I'll show you. This would make it/they the 12th Antifa that I am aware of that was killed. And then there's a footnote right there in the written version, folks. I'll hover over it. You can see there links to my reports about the first 11. All right. If this person is not a domestic terrorist, but rather an environmental activist, this would make it/they the first to be killed by police in the USA, reportedly. But the evidence, as we'll see, suggests that, I wrote he. I meant to put it was Antifa. But, as I've said before about the killings of previous Antifas and others, I am not happy it/they is/are dead because life is precious. It would be better if it/they was/were still alive and healthy, but instead it may be that it/they was/were Antifa and/or chose to shoot at a fellow human being. State trooper nearly killing him and was killed in return fire for it, or it may be that this, the official narrative and not a proven fact, at least not yet, is false. It may be that law enforcement shot first, for example. At any rate, may that injured man, the state patrol trooper, recover fully. And I think by now he's probably well on his way, because we're talking that happened in January 18th, I believe, and we are now on March 9th as I live stream and record this. As I've said before about the killings of previous Antifas and others, I am not happy it/they is/are dead. Already sorry about that. Well, anyway, this is the gun, all right, that the authorities are saying was used to shoot the state trooper. It's a Smith & Wesson, what is it here? 9mm Smith & Wesson. Georgia Bureau of Investigation, quote, the projectile recovered from the trooper's wound matches Tehran's handgun, unquote. So that's the gun that they say. And it may be a gun taken across state lines. Personally, I don't think that really should be an issue in the United States of America, whether or not you cross state lines. We're the United States, right? So, but whatever. The deceased has been identified as Manuel Esteban Paez Tehran, 26, or Manny, as /they have been called, who reportedly went by Tortuguita, meaning little turtle, or just Tort, or Cami. You can see I have footnotes for all these different things to support this. I'm not making fun of this person. That's coming from people close to this person. Apparently this person used it/they pronouns. According to some comrades, this person's name is Cami Tehran. Note that a cami is a sort of pretty lingerie top that is sometimes worn in public, and that the name Cami is a name one gives to a newborn girl, a name related to Camilla, or Camilla. Andy knows tweeting about this person and screenshots of things that we'll see below anyway, but he did write, imagine dying in a gunfight with police during a revolutionary insurgency and your legacy is what your pronouns are. Yeah. It/they is/are reportedly from Tallahassee, Florida. It does seem that it or they may have been driven to homicide and or suicide by cop. I'm sorry, I'm laughing about the awkwardness, the mutilation of the English language when you have to say it this way. It/they or may have been driven to homicide and or suicide by cops by living out a paranoid fantasy. You see, it seems it was scared, or they were frightened of the government and of being killed by police for not being white. Apparently, they identified as a brown person. And, I don't know, man. I mean, not very dark to me as far as I'm concerned, but whatever. This is a pro-Antifa source here. And this is supposedly a quote from Cami or Tortuguita or, whatever. Quote, am I scared of the state? Pretty silly not to be. I'm a brown person. I might be killed by the police for existing in certain spaces, but fear is the mind killer. A little Dune quote there. You can't let fear stop you from doing things, from living, from existing, from resisting, unquote. And that was January 23rd, 2023, that this tweet, not the quote, because that person was dead by then. Predictably, this resulted in riots in downtown Atlanta and more, as we'll see ahead. And also, they have been calling for retaliation on officers on Twitter, and we'll see examples of that ahead. There's a screenshot of some of it and the riots that are to come in this report as we go on. That too. Torching a Atlanta police APD vehicle. Apparently, the first public announcement of the identity of the deceased is this from Atlanta Community Press Collective. This person killed by police in the forest has been identified as ACPC as Manuel Tehran. Manuel was a beloved member of the community. They were generous, running a mutual aid group. In our conversations with those that love them, two words consistently came up: kind and fierce. Also, they tweeted, we are releasing this information with consent from their loved ones who want them remembered as they were and not in whatever light police cast them in. And they also tweeted, we have begun receiving memories of Manuel, who also went by Cami. Where was it? Okay, Manuel used it pronouns as we did this is from the Atlanta Press Collective. So this is a pro-Antifa source, and they're apparently close to people that are close to the dead person, and they are here saying Manuel used they/it pronouns. So I'm not mocking the person by doing this. And if it comes across as so, it's the fault of the people who insist upon these things. They go on to say, please make sure we are remembering them properly and respectfully. Yeah, well, you're making a mockery of things, though. That's the thing. So yeah, I'm trying to be more respectful than you folks, actually. And then there's a link there if you want to check that out. And the Post-Millennial would report, quote, a propaganda media group for the Atlanta Autonomous Zone has released the name of their deceased gunman who was shot dead yesterday after shooting and severely injuring a Georgia Department State Patrol trooper. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm thrown off by the at. They say its name is Manuel Tehran, they/it, and that it was known by the alias Tortuguita. Yeah, also Cami. And I think we read those, so there you go. That's another photo of the same person. Shortly after Atlanta Press tweeted this, rest in power Tortuguita, stop Cop City, blah, 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 stuff like that. Someone whose tweets, as we'll see, suggests they are local and part of the resistance locally would later tweet this. Rest in peace, Tortuguita, killed by Georgia State Patrol January 18, 2023, while defending the Weelaunee Forest. There was an anarchist of Afro-Venezuelan descent. They should still be with us. And here you see, from, what source is this now? Axios Atlanta. And it's a photo from their camp out. And you can clearly see, among other things, the Antifa flag right there. All right. It seems to be the same thing. Okay, so this is two different signs draped here. And depending on what side you are, you can read two different things. So this is one side of it, and then if you go around to the other side, this is the other side of it. Still the Antifa flag there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Same thing. Here's the same thing, different angle, same Antifa flag there. All right. Treehouse Antifas. There you go. Right up there in the treehouse. Why don't we have a closer look? All right. And then you got these guys below. Playing G.I. Joe. Haha. LOL. F-U. And then this guy, he's got a stick, like he's gonna hurt somebody. And pretty scary stuff. Alright, and then let's scroll up. And there's the one getting to play Treehouse. The only one that had the balls or the ability to get up the tree that high with the ropes. Alright. Background. The Cop City Project. Now, at this point, if you want to see the written version, you can see that goes back to at least 2015. Here's computer-generated simulations of it right there. There is this whole big thing, 90 acres, and apparently 150 acres of forest would have to be cut down, but again, it's woods. But whatever, I'm not for the project, and whether or not I'm for it is irrelevant anyway. You know, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's probably a way to just funnel taxpayer money into Democrat pockets, I would imagine. Apparently 150 acres of forest would be cut down, but not really. Reportedly, it would include, quote, 9 acres of green space, a military veteran training center, 12-acre emergency vehicle course, physical training field with a track, a mock city for real-world training, and I think that's probably something they plan to also use as a film set, because they mentioned that. So it would make sense if they have a mock city that they would double. Maybe not. They're continuing with their, quote, burn towers, you know, for fire safety, a shooting range, 40 horse stalls, a 40-acre horse pasture, canine kennels, and more, according to mock-ups by the Atlanta Police Foundation, unquote. You can see more of the simulation there. As we'll see, there's been talk of also including a film set, and apparently this faced robust opposition from the coalition of Atlanta community activists from, you know, different people. They didn't want to do it, but then now it's all been polarized between people who are violent and terrorizing people who may actually still be against the project but don't want to be terrorized by Antifa. But it's like, if you're not one of us, you're the enemy, and you know. But we'll get to that. It's horrible. Here's an overhead you can see. Now, you may have seen in my last video where they were burning stuff by the towers. That's these towers here. And so there's a lot of background here for you if you want to get into that, folks. I'm going to scroll past that. There's the opposition to the Cop City Project, and that goes back, again, years. Really started ramping up 2019, I guess. Here's a section, Terror Tactics and Vandalism. All right, now you're starting to see vandalism and people putting out names of people involved in these companies that are funding this project and terrorizing them in their own neighborhood, as we'll see. So I'm going to scroll past a lot of this. Here's some visual examples. More dead cops, which, by the way, happens to be one of the names of the punk band MDC. They switch what the MD and C stand for. Seems a bit threatening, you know? And then you can see all over, you know, they're spray painting on the construction equipment, but at this point they weren't burning it. Oh, yes, they were. To June 9th, 2021, anonymous email was published by Antifa's Alyssa Azar, if you remember that more on Medium. Direct action, 3 excavators scorched in Atlanta forest. Quote, we incinerated all 3 excavators, rendering them immobile and unusable, unquote. Azar's post contained this image, and there you can see it's on fire. Further down, they write, quote, we know that there's only one way to carve livable space out of a world that cares more about shitty action films and carceral primacy than having breathable air and drinkable water. The only way is resistance. We renew our undying commitment. Any further attempts at destroying the Atlanta forest will be met with similar response. So that's the definition of terrorism there. This forest was here long before us, not forest, and it will be here long after. We'll see to that. Anonymous email submission. By the way, it's interesting that this Alyssa Azar is willing to publish this. It seems clear that this is one of her comrades, if you know anything about her, and if you know my past reports. Anyway, she's got a court date coming up, and this doesn't look good. No, it's been archived by me, and it's there forever. On June 16, 2021, reportedly, quote, protesters, unquote, showed up at Atlanta City Council member Joyce Shepard's home. Councilwoman apparently had, quote, introduced an ordinance earlier in June to lease. So, okay, I'm going to not go into all of these, but basically they're showing up at the homes of people involved in this project and leaving stickers and stuff like that at places that they know that they go to get their morning coffee or where they gas up their vehicles and where they work, where they live, or stuff like that. So here's a visual that supposedly is the gate of one of the important people involved in this project. They're showing that they know where they live and what they look like and their other personal info, contact info. This is apparently where they get coffee or something like that. So this is just to terrorize the person so that they wake up in the morning, they see that on their gate, then they go to get some coffee and they see that there, and they start panicking. That's the whole idea. That's called terrorism. All right, so clearly it's not about educating the public or anything like that. It's terrorism. The message is we're hostile. We know where you live. We know your whereabouts. We're serious. We're dedicated. You know what we want. Do it or else. Just end the project in this case. Now, ramping up, May 12th, 2022, multiple people were arrested. Okay, we're ramping up to this level now. For vandalizing the offices of a contractor firm, apparently due to their role in the construction of the training facility in the project. And you can see what they spray painted on the wall there. Antifa Watch, great account. If you do use Twitter, I would recommend following that if you like this sort of stuff. They're pretty on it, so give them credit. Credit for a lot of the stuff that I was alerted to by this account, by the way. But they tweeted, the protest turned riot was over the construction of police and fire training facility in a forested area of southeast Atlanta. Here's an archive link. It became a rallying point for some anarchists / Antifa across the country who have claimed to carry out vandalism in solidarity. This is to note the ineptitude of these forest defenders. Pay attention, I think, over here. I think you want to pay attention. Yep, you see that? Nice. Now, what the damn hell is that going to do other than possibly burn down the woods there? My goodness. That's the best that they could do. They couldn't even get it over the fence, and then they had yards and yards to go before they would come anywhere near what their target must have been, because I'm sure the target wasn't a corner grass section near the fence. I'm pretty sure they were going for one of those vehicles and or those cops. They're extremely short. My word. Yep, you see that? Nice. It's like a cartoon. A second was thrown at a car, but appears to not have ignited. We'll post the names and hopefully mugshots of the 8 arrested later, tweets Antifa Watch. Did you see that being thrown? Yeah, okay, so I'm dragging it back and forward so I can call your attention to it. So yeah, it does look like fabric flopping out of a bottle. So it looks like a Molotov. It splats right there. But you can see it splats right there, but there's no ignition. Splat. 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 There you go. And here's more pictures. Whoa, some scary ones there. All right, 7 arrests yesterday. And remember, they said 7, so there you go. Wow. Oh, God. And then look at this one. Psycho. Look at that. No, it's not one of the Manson girls, and not one of the Manson family girls. No, it's not Natalie Portman's character in V for Vendetta. It's an Antifa. 6 out of the 7 are from out of state: Massachusetts, New York, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Minnesota. All charged with trespass. Abigail I'm not going to say that name. I don't know how to say that. Skapiak. Jeez, I don't know. But you get the idea. Okay, so they're ramping stuff up. June of 2022. That's when you get this photo of the treehouse Antifa. You start occupying trees and camping out there and all that kind of stuff. All right. I'm going to scroll past most of that. November 30th, 2022, they said a man stopped at the site to pick up some discarded junk that he saw from the road to take into his pickup truck. He said in their interview at the site of a burnt-out truck that he had no idea about the encampment in the woods there. But these rich kids apparently saw this working-class man from their little tree houses.
People started coming out of the woods and camouflage stuff.
Richard Porter says people apparently living in the woods burned his pickup truck at the site of the police training center. He says he stopped because he fancied what he thought was some abandoned junk on the property.
Started chasing me around the park, busting my windows out and throwing gas bombs or whatever they were at me.
He says they forced him to flee and leave his truck behind, which he says they damaged, then torched.
It seemed to me like they were trying to burn the truck with me in it.
Say some have lived continuously in the woods to try to block the development.
Had no idea what was going on out there.
They could have killed that guy. And they also could have set those woods on fire. Yeah. Still, some would maintain, or, well, lie, that they are peaceful protesters. Getting back to Fox 5 Atlanta's timeline, December of 2022, domestic terrorism charges for multiple activists. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said 5 people face domestic terrorism charges, accused of throwing rocks and bottles at police cars, EMTs, along Boulder Crest Road. Protesters said SWAT teams swarmed the woods earlier in the day, shutting down the road for hours. Demonstrators claim police tore down encampments. Unquote. Catch that? They call these domestic terrorists demonstrators. That's a local Fox station. CNN also mischaracterized them as activists, quote unquote, in the same report in which they wrote that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation said that police, quote, found explosive devices, gasoline, and road flares, unquote. This was also reported in Fox 5 Atlanta's timeline. CNN also wrote, quote, the location has previously been the site of a series of incidents including carjacking, destruction of property, arson, and attacks against public safety officials, according to the Bureau. On December 10th, 2022, local News 11 Alive reported protesters throw objects at firefighters attempting to extinguish flames at Atlanta's Cop City site. And in that, police say that, quote, DeKalb Police Department responds to reports of a dumpster fire on Key Road around 10:32 a.m. on Saturday, assisting Atlanta Police Department. The department said that when they arrived on the scene, DeKalb Fire said they were having issues putting out the fire, because protesters were throwing objects at them. For the safety of the firefighters, police units from both departments assisted in evacuating the area. No injuries were reported. The fire and police units remain on the scene. Not sure if those are the two homes or just like an example, because there's a development area there. But where was authorities? Let's see here. Oh, yeah, two homes in a subdivision still under development in DeKalb County last Saturday night, and Key Road remains closed. Authorities are urging the public to avoid the area and to follow instruction from law enforcement. Unquote. Terrorism. Also on December 10th, 2022, according to Fox 5 Atlanta, after the dumpster fire, quote, fire burned down two homes in a subdivision still under development. There's a visual. The blaze broke out just hours after another fire about a mile up the street. How the fire ignited, authorities said, remains a mystery. 2 of the 4 future homes burned to their foundations. December 13, 2022, GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, stated that the Atlanta Police Department and other local and state task force members arrested 5 people who have been charged with domestic terrorism and other charges. Quote, in an operation to remove barricades blocking some of the entrances to the training center, unquote, after, quote, several people threw rocks at police cars and attacked EMTs outside the neighboring fire stations, multiple, with rocks and bottles, unquote. We're not going to go into too much detail about that. I do hope to one time do a little report just about the privileged nature of these individuals that continue to be arrested there. The state governor tweeted this, kind of predictable stuff. You get the idea. There's some of the faces, the pretty faces of the people arrested there. Yeah, and then there's more about those people. I saw this, and I just had to, for your pleasure, folks. By the way, look at this guy pointing at the camera person. I just had to, for your pleasure, folks, zoom in on this screaming face right there. Serena Abbey Hertel. Yeah, enjoy. Noah would later tweet more about one of these arrested, who, as we'll see, would be arrested again in a riot on January 21st. And he goes into, some of that stuff, some of the charges, all the details. Shows the receipts in a big way. It's pretty cool. Then you have this by the Daily Mail about these people, and they go into detail about their privileged nature and some stuff about their background, and basically proving that they are Antifa, but we're going to scroll past that because we got a lot to go. There's more of the Antifa flags being hung there. More of the Treehouse Antifas. Maybe I shouldn't go too fast past this. Let me back up. This is Steven Donziger. I think he's a reporter with Axios. He's tweeting, breaking, a total of 7 peaceful climate protesters in the U.S. are now charged with terrorism, quote unquote, as police and fossil fuel industry work overtime to stifle dissent. 5 charged just last week in Atlanta. Who do you think the real criminals are? So, there you go. And this is from a source sympathetic with these people, right? Showing this photo. So you can't say this is a false flag, this photo of the Antifa flag. This is them, all right? Showing that they are Antifa. Propagating this thing that they want you to see, they want you to know. They are Antifa. That's why they're flying the flag, and the photo's being taken by friendlies, because normally they would smash the camera. So this media has been taken by friendlies and put out there with their consent and their intent. So there you have Treehouse Ninjas there. Treehouse Antifas. I cropped it so you could see it closer up. Right there. You can click on that if you want. Now here, Chicago against Cop City. So that's another source from another state, is tweeting this outside the squat La Bourgerie in Montreux, France. Quote, in solidarity with our friends from Defend the Atlanta Forest and ZAD Lutzeroth in Germany, unquote.
It starts in Europe first, right?
Yeah, Atlanta. Do you want to go more into that, Tabby? Tabby's saying that it starts in Europe, this Antifa thing.
No, all of it. All the rhetoric, targets, everything.
Well, baby, if you want to tell them, you know, you got to get a little louder. Tabby's kind of busy doing something, but yeah, I mean, what she's saying is that, you know, she knows more about this than I do, the nuts and bolts thereof. But yeah, Antifa comes from Europe, and New York first, and then yeah, okay.
New York, and then Pennsylvania. And
New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
Migrated its way across.
And then across to
California, and then came up to
California,
Washington and Oregon.
and then up to Oregon, Washington. Then you get groups like Rose City Antifa and whatnot.
I think there's even one down in Georgia.
Yeah.
But that's a real small one, like the one in Ohio. It was just a jumping.
Well, that's why there's so many of these people here in Atlanta, Georgia, that are from out of state. Very few of these people are from
they're not local.
locals. Now, one of them that was arrested that is local turned out to be SPLC.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
The real Antifa would be the lawyers.
Yeah, the lawyers and the money people and the politicians, and then you get a lot of it is also being driven by CARE, the Council for the American Islamic Relations. A lot of that is support is coming directly from them. So that's the Red Green Alliance that our friend talks about. I'm not sure if she wants us to say her name, but she does a lot more research into the Red Green Alliance than we do. But that is a fact. That's something that you'll see. All you have to do is start looking into, say, the social media accounts of any local Antifa along with the local CARE people, CARE spokespeople, whatever, and you will see that they're friends and that, you know, they get support from CARE, which probably ultimately gets taxpayer money. I'd be shocked if that were not the case, you know. Yeah, all right, so here's some video. So this shows you their pretty campouts, which involves like mixing. Oh, I hate when people do this, man. They're mixing tires and plastic with wood and just getting it so that it's all screwed up. And
weren't they just talking about protecting air and water?
Yeah, they want to protect air and water, but they're lighting rubber on fire and all. Okay, well, anyway, let's look at this. So this is their pretty little encampments. You can see there's some scrap metal in there. This is the Weelaunee Forest, southeast Atlanta. But that's what they're saying. They're saying it's the Weelaunee Forest, but it's not. It's the woods. Because, you know, it used to be the site of a prison and etc. About 100 years ago. The fatal gun battle and arrests on January 18th, 2023. The nearly deadly shooting of a state trooper and fatal shooting of Manuel Tortuguita / Cami Terran came on January 18th, 2023. Additionally, 7 have been arrested and charged with domestic terrorism. And there you see. More information on there. Tons and tons of information that I'm just skipping over, but it's all there. The Daily Mail reported that these people belong to a local Antifa cell. They are from various other states. However, Fox 5 Atlanta's timeline would suggest that they have spent much time living locally and in each other's physical presence. They are rich kids, as are those who rioted in reaction to the killing, and who were arrested according to multiple sources. Again, I will save most of that for another report. I'm going to have to rearrange some stuff a little bit.
2 hours later.
Now, take note there. I'm going to be showing you 4 different body cams, okay? Now, not all of it, but I will give you links to all of them. See that right there? All of these. You can watch the entirety of all of these. There are the body cams. You can see the date right here where I'm showing with my cursor and the time, 9:11 in the morning. And I don't know what the 0500 is, Axon body, and this is just to identify the body cam. I want you to know that if you watch the entirety of these videos, you can really get a sense of how bungling and uncoordinated they are, and their failure to communicate and coordinate with each other to make sure they're not in each other's line of fire. It's horrible. It's really horrible. So again, 8:45 or whatever, they start tearing apart this tent. They find, there they go. Okay, so now the sound comes in.
See movement in the red tent. This is the Atlanta Police Department. If you're inside the red or green tent, please come out with your hands up.
Okay, I'm sure you folks can hear that now.
Occupants inside the red tent, we can see you moving. Please step out of the tent.
Okay, again, he keeps saying, we see you in the tent. We see that you're moving in the tent.
Red tent, movement.
See the officer walking to our right.
It might be your light, though. You're flashing on that backside.
Yeah, it might not be people. It might just be...
Inside the green or red tent, please step out with your hands up. This is the Atlanta Police Department.
Okay, and you can see now... Let me go back 1 second here. 8:46.
This is the Atlanta Police Department.
Okay. You see this figure right there? That would be law enforcement. So, excuse me, you got law enforcement coming in from almost all sides, except maybe directly across from this guy with the body cam. We can't tell because the tent's there, but he's pretty convinced that there's somebody in the tent, right?
Yep. Yeah, he's with us. Supposed to be with you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's with us. Well, supposedly with you. And he said that to somebody on his cell phone.
Tents are going to be unoccupied.
Alright, so he finally figures out that the tents are unoccupied. And this whole time he was like, come on out of the tent, I see you moving. Alrighty, well, let me turn the sound down. Now, what else do I want to show you here? They find, they take this stuff apart. They find a blowtorch, among other things, in that tent. At 9:01 and 17 seconds, you hear some faint pops, and I'm going to do my best to raise the volume level at that point without blowing your eardrums out with the other sounds. And then after that, I think we hear some louder stuff, maybe some more pops. Okay, here it comes soon. Gonna mute my mic.
Oh shit. Is this target practice?
Real shots get fired.
By the way, the guy with the backpack, did you folks notice him walk just right past the line of fire of the cameraman and who else? Who knows who else?
Watch crossfire, guys. Crossfire, watch the crossfire. Stay online. Stay.
See the two of them across there?
Okay.
Okay. I think you folks heard, see the two of them across there? And then the cameraman says, yeah. I shouldn't say cameraman, it's a body cam, you know. You can see... Did you hear that officer was injured?
You fucked your own officer.
Okay, so you heard that. The person whose body cam we were watching said, you fucked your own officer up. Alright, I'm going to go back and play that again. Then I'm going to go back to right 9:01 and 17 seconds. And again, you'll hear faint shots. And then you hear rapid fire close-up shots. Okay, here.
You fucked your own officer.
One more time.
You fucked your own officer.
Yeah, man. Alright.
Oh shit. Is this target practice? shooting at us?
No, that sounded like suppressed gunfire.
Yeah.
All units hold the air. There was this officer who was injured. 338. What agency is that?
You fucked your own officer.
Of course, that doesn't prove that one of the cops shot that state trooper, but whatever officer had this body cam sure is under the impression that they shot, you effed your own officer up. So, and also they're shooting at us. When he says they're shooting at us, meaning that they're being shot at, so that could be Antifa. Don't know. By the way, I'm not trying to say Antifa is innocent either, but it's just things are a little screwy, and maybe with more competence, this state trooper would not have been so seriously injured. Let's just watch that. It's 9:01 and 17 seconds. Let's watch that from all the different cameras. But listen carefully. Again, at 9:01 and 17 seconds, you hear a few shots that are more distant, and then the loud ones come. All right, let's go back.
All our machines are on this side. Okay. We've got to leave somebody to guard those machines. Okay. There's a tent right up here. Oh, that's good.
That's the time we're approaching. We need to go there.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a tent over here, guys.
Did you hear somebody yelling for medic? Camera person or the officer with this body cam immediately yells fuck because he knows one of their own's hit. Officer down.
Where?
Clear that tent! Clear that tent! Crossfire! Watch your crossfire! Stay online! Stay online!
He was advised if it was a firework or somebody shooting at us. So he was kind of like fireworks, he was laughing,
Yeah, it is.
All units hold the air. Who was with the officer who was injured? 338. What agency is that? GSP SWAT. Copy. Is the officer, can you give us a status?
GSP is Georgia State Patrol.
In that unit advised, but we had an active shooter.
Alright.
Can't show you everything, sorry. Let's watch the same thing from the other two. Again, no sound on this one, and it's coming up on the shooting pretty soon. Hopefully they turn the sound on before the gunshots. Let's see. I'll try my best to work the volume for us. Okay, coming up in a few seconds here. 9:01, 10 seconds, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So here's where first either shots or whatever are being fired, and then the volley would be here. There's no volume on this. Don't know why. And don't know at what point. Well, I do know at what point the volume comes on. I just can't read it right now because I'm showing you the video. And since there's really nothing to be seen in these so very much, let's see if we skip forward if the sound comes up.
The fireworks going off. We got male vehicles. I'm not sure if it's the officers. Are all officers okay? Have one officer down. Boy, start 63 right now.
Where?
Down 63.
Okay, did you hear that time the person making the announcement said they heard a male screaming, and then they say officer down. But at that point, there are 2 people down, 2 males down.
Crossfire.
It's probably one of them was dead. The other one was the injured state trooper who was probably screaming. All right, so let's see the other one now. This one starts, okay, without sound again. Let's skip forward to 9:01, 17 seconds. Oops. Okay, again, no sound when the shooting happens. 15 seconds, 16 seconds, and then 17 seconds would be the pop, 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 or whatever, however, and then boom, 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 boom here. Hopefully the sound comes on at some point. Okay, let's go back to where the sound begins, right about here-ish. 9:01 and 49 seconds.
Cover! Hey, don't move forward. Hold what you got.
Copy, we'll get EMS around. What's the exact location? Northwest. All officers go for.
Move! Jaguar!
All officers okay?
Jaguar! Jaguar!
Advise what you have. Cool. About one. We've got a green tent. We're probably about 100 meters from the creek. Probably got a big range of fireworks going off. Now we got a male individual screaming.
Male screaming.
Not sure if that's any of the officers. All officers okay? Got one officer down. Going Sergeant 63 right now.
All right.
Where?
Copy. Officer down. 63.
Officer down, 63. Not sure what the 63. I guess that's code for officer down.
Hey, watch crossfire, guys.
Crossfire. Watch the crossfire. Stay on line. Stay on line.
All right. Now, that is the last of the 4 body cam videos that you can access through my article here. All right, so I have extensive notes at exactly when, say, for example, someone asks if all officers are okay, and then they return with no, officer down, and you can see that. And other notes about different things that go on in these videos. I'm scanning it really quick, so bear with me. Yeah, there's the point where the guy says, you fucked your own officer up, and I'll show you exactly where to see that and which video at what point. At 9:08, somebody says, get that officer out first. I don't want to cause another incident. More times than I have time to go over, they shout to each other, get out of the way, watch out, tell so-and-so to get out of the way, tell so-and-so to make sure that they know that the person in their line of fire is one of the friendlies, don't shoot. And so on, and it's a confused cacophony of incompetence with loud noises from radio chatter, from megaphone announcements, ATVs apparently being revved for no reason, far too close, for far too long than one could possibly have any excuse for. Except Tabby said before I went live, no, it's because if they use these toys of theirs, then they have a justification for having that in the budget the next time around.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
We can buy new ones.
Yeah.
Better ones. They're like, but we used them.
Well, yeah, we use them to make a lot of sound and stuff like that. Just when we should be quiet. All right, but you can hear construction vehicles beeping. I mean, I'll play a few seconds of it for you folks, but you get the idea. But it's so bad. I don't want to pollute this video with much of it. But I'll give you a couple samples. Here we go.
What's up?
At the RC field, do they have this subject in
Skipping ahead.
1813 Sergeant Hill to command.
They said that they have a K9 unit, but there's nobody in the tent. Oh yeah, fuck around and find out. Let me go back up so you can hear that.
Fuck around and you're gonna find out.
You hear the guy laughing.
That's what a dad says.
What did?
What a dad says.
And you hear all the engines and the ATVs and the construction vehicles going everywhere. And meanwhile, they're trying to communicate with... They think they're trying to communicate with somebody in a tent. Might not be able to hear you if there was somebody in that tent.
Yeah.
Yep, nobody should be on the other side. They should not be on the other side. You're right. But turns out they are. All right, let's see. Another. No, actually, let's look at that because you know what I'm trying to say with this, right? Yeah, right. And it says something about the Antifas there because this criminal is a bungling idiot as well. This is my favorite part. And then he becomes a midget cop.
Hey guys, let's go! Come on, everybody, follow me. Let's go this way. Yeah, everybody.
With a less lethal agent that will be administered into the tent if you do not come out with your hands up.
Yeah, sorry, folks. It looks like a good setup for a funny video, but no, there's no Antifas in the tent being shot with the less lethal. Sorry. But here's another example, though. Okay, look. They're all standing around while this guy shoots the less lethal gas. Okay? Do any of them take any preparations for being exposed to this stuff? No. Okay. They will all start coughing.
Repeat that last traffic, please.
1813 to command, Sergeant Hill. We're now using less lethal on the green tent. We're now at 9 rounds in.
9 rounds in so far of the less lethals into the tent.
That's 10.
Major's gonna be a tent that is...
I feel sorry for the K9 unit, though. That's the only innocent party, and I mean, if you're stupid enough to not wear something so that you don't breathe in this stuff, well, that's on you, but K9 has no choice.
We're now at 12 less lethal.
12 shots so far of the less lethal pepper gas or whatever it is. Okay, he just said something about a drone, I'm pretty sure. Okay, he said pepper ball agent. Okay, do you hear that buzz? That might be the drone buzz.
Being loaded to the campaign farm, and we'll be coming out in just a second.
Sounds almost like a dragonfly.
Copy that. We'll be going westbound on Constitution.
To the right.
Already the coughing starts. Okay, it looks like the guy with the body cam is putting something over his head.
367, just go to the scene. Go ahead, go. A green clear.
All right. I gotta grab that bag.
Okay, you can hear multiple officers coughing. I mean, come on.
Let me grab that bag.
Take some preparation, man. Okay. Well, you get the idea now. What else did I want to show you folks here? Let's see. One can see the canine dog among those who are coughing. All right, look right there. All right, so they should not have that dog in that environment if a human's that sensitive to it. Poor dog. And the dog's in the mode where it thinks it's supposed to be smelling everything on high alert, right? See, it's incompetence like that got their state trooper injured, and it's not good. Well, anyway, let's see. We want to check out this. Whoa, at 9:52 a.m., an officer asks something like, "Did they shoot their own man?" Another one says, "They don't know what he got shot by," and that would be from the one ending in YV. Let's have a look at that.
Did they shoot their own man? Huh? We don't know where he got shot by. That'd be the first thing we need.
The first one, they say was suppressed. That's from them. First like 3 rounds, and then that's what they started shooting. 5 to 6 rounds. Yeah.
Okay, we got to hear that again. The first guy saying the first thing was a little quieter, but I think this guy here speculates on whether a deputy shot him, but anyway, let's check that out again. 9:20 and 22 seconds, I think I want. Well, 9:20 and 22 seconds. Listen really closely. I'll try to get the volume better this time.
Did they shoot their own man? Huh? We don't know where he got shot by. That'd be the first thing we need.
The first one, they say was suppressed. That's from them. First like 3 rounds, and then that's what they say.
Did they shoot their own man? Did they shoot their own man? Did they shoot their own man? Huh? We don't know where he got shot by. That'd be the first thing we need.
The first one, they say was suppressed. That's from them.
So I skipped over a lot of the other, but those are the most important points when you hear those things being said. Vitalist International tweeting, "A forest defender was shot and killed by police. What are you going to do about it?" 5 that afternoon. Also, they tweeted, "After killing a protester in the Atlanta forest, police are now firing pepper balls at close range at someone in a treehouse." They're tweeting that 5:16 p.m. Vitalist International, they're urging Antifas to do something, quote unquote, and they're announcing a candlelight vigil that night. Antifa Watch tweets, "Pittsburgh Antifa group PGH Autonomy is calling for, quote unquote, solidarity attacks." Jordan Coyne, who's associated with this group, was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison last week for throwing bricks at police. And here you can see a screenshot of the tweet from this Pittsburgh Antifa account. "Solidarity attacks better spread like fucking wildfire. Fuck the police. Hashtag stop city." Is that kind of like a threat to other Antifas? You better start getting up and armed and stuff. Or else, comrade. Antifa Watch saying Pittsburgh anarchist Jordan Coyne was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison earlier today for throwing bricks and concrete at police in the 2020 George Floyd riots. coin is associated with Pittsburgh Autonomy, who raised money for him on fundraiser. Wonderful. Atlanta Community Press Collective press release today. Police murdered a Stop Cop City protester in Atlanta Forest, and you can read that if you want. Then Vitalist International. After killing someone this morning, Atlanta police are now preparing to violently extract a tree sitter from a tree house. Perhaps they will charge them with domestic terrorism in order to distract from the killing they perpetrated this morning. And look at this shot. This is obviously taken from one of the tree houses, photographing down at the officers looking up at them. And they are treating a forest defender in a treehouse currently surrounded by police has submitted this photo. Zoomed in on their faces, their bemused faces, looking up at these treehouse ninjas here. So there you go. Pretty funny. Later, they would later add, quote, "This happened, 6 more charged with domestic terrorism, bringing the total to 12 so far. Are we supposed to allow police to continue killing protesters while silencing those who live?" And again, keep in mind, 12th Antifa Killed in the USA, as far as I'm able to tell, and I don't know of anybody who's keeping track like I am of these things, other than maybe Antifas. So there you go. And Antifa Watch. The primary blog for Stop Cop City is now calling for retaliation via, quote, "reciprocal violence to be done to the police and their allies," unquote, on January 20th, which they're calling a, quote, "night of rage," unquote. You can see the screenshot there. The worst has come to pass. This Antifa, the main Stop Cop City blog. The worst has come to pass. An unnamed forest defender has been shot and killed in Weelaunee. Consider this a call for reciprocal violence to be done to the police and their allies. On Friday, January 20th, wherever you are invited to participate in a night of rage in order to honor the memory of our fallen comrade. Love and rage, defend the Atlanta forest. Around this time, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation reported, quote, "At around 9 a.m. today, as law enforcement was moving through the property, officers located a man inside a tent in the woods. Officers gave verbal commands to the man who did not comply and shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper. Other law enforcement officers returned fire, hitting the man. Law enforcement, whoa, they just misgendered him. Now that is so much worse than the killing, because that causes real harm to other gendered people out there. My God, they're calling him a man. And Cammy does not identify, or did not identify as a man when Cammy was alive. When will the persecution end? Even in there, it's death. He, she, it, them, they are, them, there's him. It's being called a man. The violence, the verbal violence just never ends, folks. Oh, I'm sorry that I read that word, man, and I'm going to try to avoid it. Okay, they continue. Law enforcement evacuated trooper to a safe area. I'm not going to say that verbal violence, died on the scene. The injured Georgia State Patrol trooper was taken to a local hospital where, I'm not going to say that verbal violent word there, underwent surgery. A handgun and shell casings were located at the scene. The GBI is working. The officer involved. I think they mean working with the officer involved shooting, and the investigation. Oh, okay, I see. They're working the officer involved shooting, and the investigation is still active and ongoing. The identification of the man who died, sorry, I said another verbal violence right there, is pending next of kin notification. During the planned operation, several people were arrested and taken to the DeKalb County Jail. Now, I wonder if we were to click on this, would they keep the misgendering there, or did they update that? Let's have a look. The man died on the scene. Let's see if that sentence is there. Alright, so they still, at this current time, as I'm live streaming this in March, they still have the man died on the scene, and that is verbal violence right there. God damn it, when will the verbal violence end? It's horrible. Alright, let's have a look at these treehouse ninjas being arrested now.
A Georgia State trooper was shot and a protester killed during what the GBI director called a clearing operation at the controversial Cop City Atlanta Police Department training facility. Thanks so much for joining us today for Fox 5 News at 4. I'm Christine Spiro. This all unfolded about 9:30 this morning. We have live team coverage of the shooting, which happened on the DeKalb County property that will soon turn into a huge training facility for the Atlanta Police and Fire Departments. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes is live at the hospital where that officer is recovering. We begin first with Fox 5's Angelique Proctor in DeKalb County, where the shooting took place. Angelique.
Good afternoon, Christine. The GBI director just wrapped up a news conference, and he makes it clear these so-called protesters at Cop City, he says, are actually criminals who he says are terrorizing this area and have been doing so for some time. The good news, that trooper is stable, but the suspect in this case did not survive. Our Fox 5 cameras were rolling when state troopers pulled a defiant protester out of the woods at Cop City Wednesday. It happened shortly after the GBI says a routine clearing operation to flush activists out of the forest turned deadly.
An individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper. Other law enforcement personnel returned fire in self-defense. The individual who fired upon law enforcement and shot the trooper was killed in the exchange of gunfire.
The 85-acre scene remained active. There was a mammoth law enforcement presence all around the entire site. Paramedics rushed the injured trooper to Grady Memorial Hospital. The GBI is not yet ready to talk about the deceased protester.
We're not going to go into that right now, into notification of next of kin.
The man they placed in handcuffs taunted police by constantly sticking out his tongue and covering his face with his hair. And they placed in handcuffs taunted police by constantly sticking out his tongue and covering his face with his hair. And they placed in handcuffs taunted police by constantly sticking out his tongue and covering his face with his hair. He spoke to us about the future training facility.
Yeah, they're demolishing the encampment in the forest. They're sending in drones and chemical weapons against tree sitters, and they're rounding everybody up to charge them with exaggerated charges.
Meantime, homeowners say they knew something like this would happen.
We've been saying this for a while. It's going to take something to be drastic for them to actually do something about clearing the woods out. So I hate that it happened. I hate the officer got, injured.
And Director Register describes this as an active, ongoing situation. He says they actually pulled 4 people from the woods today, but at this point he is not ready to release their names or possible charges. We are live in DeKalb County. Angelique Proctor, Fox 5 News.
Angelique, thank you so much. And as she mentioned, that officer is stable at the hospital right now. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes continues our live team coverage from Grady Memorial Hospital. Deidre, what else are you learning? Christine, we are told that trooper is out of surgery and is currently in ICU. We are told that his vitals are good, but he is not out of the woods yet. We are told he has a long road to recovery ahead. Now, just this morning, medics transported that trooper to Grady Memorial Hospital, where he underwent surgery after being shot. We're learning that the trooper was shot in the abdomen. The disruptions go back as far as last May, when a protest turned violent. Police say protesters threw rocks and Molotov cocktails at police. This all happened as officers were escorting construction crews onto the property. 8 people were charged in that incident. 2 months later in July, vandals destroyed surveillance cameras in the Border Walk neighborhood. A couple of weeks later, neighbors say someone opened fire on a technician who went out to repair some cameras. Then back in August, Sky Fox captured this video of heavy police outside the site as Georgia Power worked to repair a damaged transformer. Earlier that week, there was an incident between opponents of the site, officers, and construction crews. And a month later, a fire was reported at the site. The massive blaze destroyed some construction equipment.
Press conference on the morning of January 18th with Georgia Department of Public Safety Colonel Chris Wright and Grady Memorial Hospital, at Grady Memorial Hospital, according to Fox 5 Atlanta. In the video, Director Mike, Register of the GBI, states, beginning at 46 seconds, all this. Rather than me reading this to you, I will show you that.
And over the last several months, law enforcement in portions of our community have experienced growing criminal behavior and terroristic acts committed by individuals and groups concerning the building of Atlanta's new public safety training center. These individuals and groups have attempted to disguise their activities as being protests against the building of this facility. The GBI and all law enforcement agencies and our partners here embrace a citizen's right to protest, but law enforcement can't stand by while serious criminal acts are being committed that jeopardize the safety of the citizens we're sworn to protect. Acts such as arson, physical attacks on members of our community, focused intimidation of citizens, the use of explosives, and setting booby traps that have the potential of causing great bodily harm or could possibly maim are not acts of peaceful protest. They are criminal acts that destabilize communities and endanger citizens. As you are aware, a few weeks ago, several individuals were arrested for domestic terrorism in the area around the future site of the public safety training facility. This morning, the GBI, with other local, state, law enforcement agencies, such as DeKalb PD, Atlanta PD, the Georgia State Patrol, and Georgia DNR, conducted a planned clearing operation to remove individuals who were illegally occupying the area. During these operations, if law enforcement makes contact with an individual, they are asked to leave the property. If individuals are compliant and no other criminal violations are present, they are released. It's what happened on 2 occasions today. At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper. Other law enforcement personnel returned fire in self-defense and evacuated the trooper to a safe area. The individual who fired upon law enforcement and shot the trooper was killed in the exchange of gunfire. The GBI is working the officer-involved shooting, and the investigation is still active and fluid.
Now, I could joke that he is out of the woods or something like that, which is how he's at the hospital, but that would be stupid of me, so I won't mention that at all. So please forget that I did, because I didn't. The director also stated that these people engaged in, quote, arson, attacking citizens, shooting police officers, using explosives, beating people up, and then burning their car down, unquote. When asked how many people they were dealing with and how organized they are, and if they have a name, he answered, quote, I'll leave it at this. You have individuals and you have organized groups out there. You have both, unquote. And that's the way it works. There are local groups or cells that use the term Antifa in their name, like Rose City Antifa in Portland, but often they don't use Antifa in their name. As I've always said, Antifa is a term used to refer to individuals and groups who may or may not use Antifa iconography, who profess to be anti-fascist, but who actually engage in street terrorism. Often one sees specific local Antifa groups marching with other local groups such as BLM or the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, and often these overlap as individuals often belong to multiple groups.
Now hear this road boy, I want you to put it back up, you know. Cause we vex. Cause I'm pussy road boy, I try and test you, see. Who the captain? Don't hear it. Cause fuck